Hello everyone and welcome to Entrepreneur with Ducere. We're up to episode 7. If you're first time tuning in, welcome. If you're an old hand here, welcome back. I can't believe we're on episode 7, but tonight we are very lucky. I'm sitting here on this extremely odd-shaped couch with Erika Geraerts. And Erika, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thanks.
We are very lucky because Erika is an entrepreneur, she is a business owner, she is a writer, and I'm going to sit with her tonight. We're going to talk about a couple of things, some key business topics. We're going to tap into her insights on those things. And I would really encourage you all, if I know there's a lot of you that often do, the same people sending in questions, but everyone, you're always welcome. We're going to make it a little bit shorter, a little bit sharper tonight. So brace yourself because we're going to get quick and down and dirty. But before we get started on the actual questions, Erika, do you mind giving, for those people at home tuning in, a little bit of background on yourself?
Sure. I never really know where to start, and I still tell everyone that I'm a copywriter. I don't do much copywriting anymore, but it just makes sense to me. I studied journalism, and I always loved writing, particularly about people, and that's where I imagined I would end up. I figured that after finishing uni that I'd move to Sydney and probably work through some of the magazines. And then I realised that that was the last thing that I wanted to do with my life. And I was really fortunate that I was offered a job when I was finishing my degree at a marketing agency. So this would have been about 7 or 8 years ago. And the job was as a copywriter and as a social media coordinator. And it was when businesses were just starting to use social media.
Okay.
And at the time, I really didn't even know what that term was. I remember going home and talking to my housemate and saying, they want me to do social media. I need to Google that and figure it out.
Who here knows what social media is?
Yeah. But was lucky that I learnt so much on the job, and my boss and I at the time really just kind of put our heads down and figured out how social media was going to work for us. So I was there for 2 years, almost 2 years, and had this itch to do my own thing, probably because my boss had started his agency when he was 19, so I actually felt like I was behind.
Yeah.
And what I'd noticed, along with my 2 friends, was that there was a gap for a writing agency in Melbourne. You had your PR agencies and design agencies, but no writing agencies. So myself and my 2 friends at the time, Bree and Jess, started this writing agency called Willow and Blake, and we offered social media services and tone of voice development for brands.
Wow.
So we had that for about 3 years before we really wanted, I think, to be our own client. I guess, not have any restrictions from budget or fears of clients about what they were doing with a strategy. And we'd really found a knack for social media and tone of voice. And then by chance, another friend had come by this idea of a coffee scrub, which was so crazy at the time. And we decided that we were going to market this product on social media. So myself, Bree and Jess spent a lot of time working on the strategy. And then the 2 boys that were also involved worked on the product and I guess the business side. And then we launched Frank Body, so that was almost 5 years ago. But I chose to leave both those businesses almost 2 years ago now, which is crazy how quickly time has gone.
Yeah.
And has since been working on a new beauty startup called Fluff, which is where we are.
Takes us to where we are right this second. And you can't really see too well at home, but we're on Gertrude Street, we're in Fitzroy, and we're surrounded by some really cool stuff. And I'm going to get Erika to dive a little bit deeper into that shortly. But I think that one of the points I'd love to kind of start on, and you've already kind of delved into it a little bit, but it's that question of why. You know, why start a business? And I know a lot of the people tuning in, students and students alike, you battle with that. Like, what is the reason why someone would start a business? I'd love to hear, because you've had multiple, what was your why?
Yeah. I think with starting a business, sometimes it's not necessarily about finding a why, but it's generally this feeling or pull that you can't not.
Yeah.
And that's always been the case for me, because it's really hard to find a why. For me, it's just there. And I always come back to this idea that I love people and I love connecting with them and talking to them and trying to get inside their mindset and understand why they want things, why they buy things, why they think the way they do, why they act the way they do. And then that's just happened to somehow come about in the different businesses that I've had, from a writing agency to a coffee scrub. A few friends and I started a cafe, and it was all around people, like what do they want and can we offer that to them? So I think that's where my why kind of comes down to. Like, I do it for people, I do it for myself in the beginning. If I want that product, or if I want that food from that cafe, or if I want a makeup brand, which is what Fluff is.
Yeah.
I'm one person, and surely there's more who feel the same.
Right. So that was your driving force. It's like, how can I get the thing that I really want? And if I can't get it, I'm going to get it myself and create it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And I think that's interesting because a lot of the time people's why is like, is there a hole in the market? Is it because I want to make millions of dollars? And there's all these different reasons. And I think that, yeah, you summed it up really well. From your perspective, it's because it's for me and what I want to do, and that's what I'm passionate about. And I think that's important, like to know what the reasons why you're doing things.
Yeah, I think as well it's standing by whatever your why is, and it can be really different. I don't think it's bad if someone says that their why is to make a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Stand by it and work for that goal, and that can be a thing in itself. Or if your why is to change the world, that's also awesome. But if your why is just to change, I guess, something for a small amount of people, then that's also great. But I think a lot of people try to wear a why that isn't them.
Yeah.
And it's really obvious to see straight away through that.
Yeah. And then I guess on that, like, what kind of questions do you ask yourself before getting started, if any? Like, I know that people often assess how scalable is something like this, or can this be taken overseas? And I know, having multiple businesses, do you have any examples of the kind of questions that you'd ask yourself or ask others before you then pull the trigger and go, okay, we're doing this?
Yeah. I would have spent quite a long amount of time thinking about Fluff in particular, like over 12 months. In previous businesses like Frank, it happened a lot quicker, but we could say that Frank was the result of years in the industry and for writing for other brands.
Right.
So I always would say to people that you need to definitely consider the market, definitely know that for a certain amount of time you might not be making money off that business, so there's got to be something more that drives you, and generally that is the love for it. But there's so many things to consider, and you have to give it time to ask yourself those questions. They're not all going to be staring you at the face saying, yes, amazing, do it. But you've got to be prepared for, I guess, the truth.
Brace yourself for the truth.
Yeah.
I guess on that, like for people viewing, you've touched a little bit on like Fluff and where we are now. Do you want to give us a little bit more of an insight into that? Yeah. That would be awesome.
So Fluff is a makeup brand for girls. We're going to be launching in about a month. After spending, a good maybe 2 years in the beauty industry with Frank, particularly overseas and in the States, I felt like, one, younger girls were sort of underrepresented on social media or in marketing in general in beauty. And overall, I just really wasn't happy with how beauty was being represented. It felt like brands were always telling girls how they should look and what they should do and how they should think. And girls are growing up in this time right now where they have so many mediums that they're exposed to, and they're spending so much more time on their phones than I would have as a teenager. And they're still trying to figure out things that I would have been figuring out, or maybe still am figuring out, about where we fit into the world, how we feel about ourselves, but they're just exposed to so much more noise. And I really feel like brands aren't being responsible at the moment. I felt like I wasn't being responsible in my previous brand. And I knew that I wanted to do something different. And I guess give girls in this younger age group a chance to talk about beauty themselves and not me tell them how it should be. And then in Australia in particular, I felt like we really struggle to create natural beauty products that go hand in hand with a cool brand. So that's a challenge for us.
Cool. And so I'm looking around and I can see, you can't see this at home, but there's a big green screen next to me here. What's happening with this? Is there something that
Yeah.
you can share with the audience at home?
We just have fun every day. So we're creating content for our YouTube channel at the moment, and we have girls coming into the office a couple of times a week where we sit down and chat to them about a whole range of things, and we're filming it on a green screen just because I want to do as much as we can differently, and I was pretty bored of standard interview backdrops or standard YouTube videos, so we're just having fun with it and letting girls kind of pick the background that they would want to be in. It's something different, and we kind of have ideas all the time, and then we just make it happen, which is what's really nice for us here.
That sounds very much like the entrepreneurial spirit.
Maybe.
Let's just make it happen. I was joking earlier, and I was saying we should pretend like superimpose us into New York and be like, coming to you live from the Big Apple. Tickets to everyone who's tuning in. But we didn't get to do that.
Yeah.
Next time. Next time. That kind of leads quite well into, I guess, the next key point that I want to discuss with you and your experience in, for anyone looking to start a business, anyone who's running a business, this idea of investment. And what's your journey been like, an experience in either sourcing investment or, dealing with that whole space?
So I've had two pretty different experiences in terms of investment or starting up a business. With Frank Body, for example, there was 5 of us who started it together. Our biggest expense was our time in what we put into that brand. And because Bree, Jess and I had our writing agency, or we were offering those services to clients, we didn't have to pay another agency to do that. That was on us. We probably invested between 5 and 7 grand into that business in terms of getting some sort of initial branding assets and a website up. And then we were making that product by hand. So we didn't have to place a minimum order with a manufacturer. So we could get that brand off the ground really easily. And because social media was just starting and brands were kind of coming on and just learning how to use it, we could capture our audience, and we were the first to do it, really, especially in our category.
Wow.
So we didn't have to invest as much in advertising, whereas Fluff is a completely different story. Our aim was to raise $500,000 to get this brand off the ground for several reasons. I have 3 girls working full-time for me. We have this shop, which is not free. We spent a lot of time overseas researching and talking to manufacturers and trying to develop a lot of different products. Products cost money, so we have minimum order quantities between 5, 10,000, 20,000 of formulas, of packaging. It all adds up. Even setting up a company, the legal costs, it never really ends. It's part of business that I definitely don't love, but I'm learning to definitely appreciate, and it's so interesting when you do get involved. So investment can be really exciting, and for me it is because, again, it's dealing with people, and I love talking to people about this idea and what we're trying to do with Fluff. So we have quite a few investors that are backing us. We did a friends and family round, so literally my friends and my family have invested in this company, and then people that I've met in the industry over the last couple of years, which has been really great to have their support.
Cool. Excellent. I think that's a really interesting point. And I think the other thing that I'd love to get your insight into is, this idea of when people go to pitch ideas and getting told no, like not interested, like it's interesting but not for us. What's your thoughts on that? On, I guess, how do you manage that rejection?
I get no's all the time, and maybe I'm just naively optimistic and just don't, for some reason, take things personally. But at Willow, we had this saying, which was, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. And I still really, that means a lot to me, and I say that to a lot of people. You have to put yourself out there, and there are incredible opportunities if you go out for them. I really don't believe that the universe looks after any of us. I believe that we look after ourselves. So one of the things that I say as well is that I do think things will work out if you put the work in.
Yeah.
And we have to take that responsibility, and we have to go out for what we want. It doesn't just get given to us. But you grow a thick skin. Sometimes it's definitely disheartening. I have shown people our investment deck recently, and they've said no and that they don't want to invest, and they've pulled it apart in front of me. And definitely my ego will react and get hurt, but then I kind of spend some time and think about what they're saying, and some stuff you don't have to agree with or you don't have to take on board, but then there's so much to learn. And I think any business owner or successful person who's been doing what they've been doing for a long time will say that they never stop learning, and how important that is.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think what I'm also hearing there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's this element of resilience that's required.
Yeah, for sure.
This that you will hear no, and that's okay. But if you're passionate about it, and if it's important to you, you've just got to keep going, because you will get that yes.
Sometimes you might not even hear no. I get people who just don't reply to me all the time.
Who dis?
I think maybe it works that I have a really bad memory and I just forget the people that I've asked stuff of. Yeah. But you just need to know that, I mean, if there are people that you don't know, you might never see them again. So it doesn't hurt to put that out there and see what they say, because if you really believe in what you're doing and then you have either done the research or you've spent the time, so it's not just a crazy belief out of nowhere, people will see that and they'll see the potential in your business idea, and that's what they'll want to invest in, or that's what they'll want to support. They won't be able to say no.
How does one go about putting a dollar value on their business and what they do from your perspective?
It's really hard, especially if it's just an idea. And that was what we were selling with Fluff, was an idea. Yes, I had experience with my previous brand, Frank Body, and other businesses that I'd been involved with, but still I couldn't say to them, we've already sold this amount of product, or we have an audience waiting to buy product. Yeah. It was literally, we have an idea, give us money.
Trust me, it's going to be good.
Yeah, really. I believe it. My mum believes it. Yeah. It's got great support base. But there are a few different things you can do. And so we spent a lot of time looking at the market and the market size, and we were lucky enough to have access to a lot of industry reports, which you can get, which cost money at times, but that was an investment for us personally. And essentially being able to forecast and look into if there's competitive brands or people in the industry, and you can find out potentially what they're selling, and then doing projections and understanding. I think your costs are really important. A lot of people see products selling like crazy and they don't understand what it takes to get a product on a shelf and the cost, and maybe it's selling for $100, but if it costs $80 to make, that's not potentially a viable business when you look at all the other costs. So it's so much more than just face value, but there are definitely people who can help with valuations, whether it's accountants or lawyers or advisors, and I think that's where you need to be able to put your hand up and say, if I'm not the person who knows how to do this, I need to find them. Yeah. And if you're really serious about your business, it's worthwhile investing that time into it.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and that's probably a good segue to my next topic point, which is around people, and it's about I guess working out when you're starting a business, when you're surrounding yourself in an existing business, what do you look for in, whether it be a business partner or an investor or just a colleague that you're going to be working with?
Yeah, I think your team is so important. I recently wrote about people in some emails that I send out to the public, and it was all about people. And one of the things I said was, hire like your life depends on it, because it does. And I really believe that. And more so about finding the right business partner, if that's the choice that you make. I wouldn't say that everyone needs a business partner. There are incredible founders of businesses who are doing it on their own. I think some people actually really rush into having a business partner because they want that support, but it's sometimes really amazing being able to be the one person that can make that call and not have interruptions or feel like you have people holding you back. So I always say with a business partner, would be finding someone who complements your skill set or who can bring something else to the table. I always say that you should have had an argument with them or a disagreement so that you know how you fight.
Yep.
Because I think struggle.
That's really interesting. I've never heard that before. I like that.
Like pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional, right? So you need to have gone through that and be like, we disagreed, but we got through it.
Yep.
Because so often people say, my business partner's great. I've never had an argument with them. And that's an alarm bell for me because I'm like, well, what happens when you do? And what if you can't get through it?
Yeah.
So I'm really fortunate. My business partner and I have worked together for over 6 years and we have had lots of fights and lots of arguments, but we get through them and he really challenges me and Fluff wouldn't be what it is without him. In terms of staff, again, I think it's so important to have people who can bring something that you can't to the business, but they've got to be here as well for when it's not doing well. Just as you have to support them when they go through tough times, they need to know that, especially for startups, that they'll go through tough times and they need to be there through the thick and thin. But I really, really value, I think, cultural fit. That's really important for me. I need to be able to go out and have a wine with the people that I work with and talk about almost anything, but not necessarily everything.
Yeah, sure.
And just know that they understand me and how I work as well. Because I can be a bit crazy and erratic at times or not make sense. So I think I like to think that I know fairly quickly or maybe within like 15 minutes of talking to someone whether they're the right fit or not and whether they want to learn and grow and whether they can challenge you but then also back down at times.
Yeah. So what would be some like key attributes that you would look for? Like if you think about some of the people that you work with now, what are some of the skills or the attributes that they have you got? That's what I love about these people. Is there anything in particular that resonates?
So I really look for people who take initiative and who aren't just waiting, I think, for things to be handed to them. So that's really important. I love people who are curious and who want to learn from me, from other people, from the industry, from the market, people who ask questions. That's really amazing. I think people have to be patient and persistent. We've been working on this brand for over 18 months now, and I've had one girl working with me for most of that time, and she's been incredibly patient when we've sometimes thought that we've wanted to give up, and having her be a support for me has just been incredible. So I think those sort of things, initiative, patience, persistence, curiosity, are all really important, things that I look for. I know that I can teach girls things or that they'll learn on the job as they go, but you can't really teach someone to take initiative or to be patient. Those are things that they have to, I guess, have as an innate quality in them.
Yeah. Oh, really insightful. Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome. You're taking notes at home.
Yeah.
The next topic I want to talk to you about is kind of is around marketing and branding, and obviously this is something that you're very good at. Did it all come naturally? How did it? Give us a little bit of the story about that.
Well, for me personally, I think that, or I'm starting to acknowledge that maybe I understand how people's minds work. Or
are we saying you're a mind reader?
100%. No, just maybe I'm empathetic or I understand, the mindset of girls and why they buy things. So that's been really interesting for me in terms of applying that to branding. But then I'm also really fortunate to work with my business partner, Charles, who has a branding agency, Love and Money, who have been working with us this whole time to bring this brand to life.
Okay.
And my thoughts can be really erratic and scattered about what I want it to be, and they make sense of that. And they've created everything that people would see today. But my biggest things is like do something different, but then do differently. Because everyone will say that their brand is different and their business is different, but there's so much going on right now. It's really easy to start a business that looks like everyone else's, but why would you do that?
So I'd love to hear from your perspective, what are some brands by example that you think, wow, these guys are doing some cool stuff?
Ooh. There's really cool brands that I think they just don't give a shit, and they can get away with it. So I might look to a brand like Off-White in fashion, who I think it's really, some people would say it's too cool, but like they've got a brand and they own it and they just go hell for leather. But then for me, the brands that I really care about is potentially something like Patagonia, who have been around for so long and started with the founder's core need for sporting equipment and has built it into this company that is so very much values its people and its culture, and they're actually trying to get people to buy less, which is something that we're trying to do with Fluff as well. It's not just about making lots of money, it's about teaching consumers about consumerism, and that's something we want to touch on too. So Patagonia is amazing. I really like Netflix in terms of their company culture as well. So it's not even necessarily what brands are doing, but for me right now, what founders are doing and what people are doing for business, which I get excited about.
And I think that that's going to be, it's really interesting, that particular space, because, you know, you just feel like the ones that are doing it right, the ones that are taking that slightly different away from the pack mentality are the ones that are going to really pop up and survive and get, I guess, a following, if you will.
Yeah.
Because that resonates with people. That's really interesting.
I think the other thing is I am now becoming a lot more drawn to brands that are in it for the long run. I think that there are a ton of brands right now, particularly because of social media, that are just trying to make a quick buck. And I mean, great for you, but that
good for
that
you guys.
quick buck can leave just as quickly as it comes. And I think that we're at a time where we need to have a lot less. And people need to focus on creating brands that are around for a longer time with meaning and with purpose.
Sure. That's actually a really good way for us to move into my last main topic, and that's around exit strategy. And around, I mean, you've had multiple different brands, and knowing, like, when do you step away? What's your experience been like in that space, and what can you share with the audience?
So I think Fluff is my focus right now, and it's so important for me to have, I guess, done everything that I've done in the past to get to where I'm at, but I've realised that I can't do all of these things at once. And it was sort of crazy for me to think I could run a couple of businesses. Some people can, and that's great, but I couldn't. And so there was just a point in time where I knew that I had to focus and put my energy into one thing. And it was as simple as I woke up one morning and I didn't want to go to work, and it was my own job. So that's kind of a reason. Then you have to. That was a big good sign.
That was an alarm bell.
So that was it for me. And then it was about having conversations with my business partners, and that's always hard. But you need to do it. So it's hard to say to people, oh, this is when it would happen. But I think it's more a feeling as opposed to a specific point in time.
Do you think that in relation to creating a business plan and in that traditional sense, actually having an idea of where you think maybe it is, I'd work in the business for X amount of time and then I'd want to be able to step away from it, you know?
Totally. So we, with our investors as well, like that's something they want to know. When are they going to get a return? On their investment? How long are you in it for? Are you just going to make money and then want to go and live in Hawaii or somewhere? So I think you don't want to lock yourself into any kind of commitment of like, I'm in it for 20 years. You don't know how you're going to feel, but it is good to have a plan in place and always be thinking about that. So for me, I knew that I could give 5 to 7 years to this business, and then I would want to reassess, and I wanted to be really honest with my investors as well and say I'm not going to lie and say I'm here for 20 years. If I love this job and this brand and what it becomes, I'd love to be here till I'm grey. That would be amazing. But if in 10 years there is a younger, smarter person who can fill my role and I'm not needed and our stakeholders say we think maybe you should give up the company, then maybe I should.
Yep.
Or if we're given an incredible opportunity via either further investment or acquisition, I would definitely consider it. And I think that's important things to think about from the beginning. Do you want to own that company forever? Are you happy to let go of equity, because it can so easily be diluted as you bring more people on, which is where all these questions that we've been talking about when you value the company, and if you are raising money, and then if you need to raise again, and then to do that, how much equity you have to get or give away, and all these questions are things that you need to think about, because you could then find yourself 7 years down the track with so little of the company that you once started. Yeah.
Wow. That's scary to think about.
It is. I have night terrors about it all the time.
Awesome. So we've got questions. Matilda's looking at me like we've got questions. Okay.
Great.
You've got a couple of seconds. If you've got anything that's on your mind, get it down now, shoot it over. We're about to go through a couple. Jeepers, how many we get? Thank you. Wow. Yikes. Have these all been vetted? Okay. What qualifications did you have before you started this business? Do you think that people need to have a degree to start a business?
So I don't hire looking for a degree. I don't really look at resumes, to be honest. And at Willow and at Frank, that wasn't a priority for me either. I love an incredible cover letter, and I can tell almost straight away from an email from a person whether they're going to be right, because culture is so important to me. Obviously, it depends what job you're going for. When we had a writing agency, they just needed to be a good writer.
Yep.
With Fluff, I want to know that they care about the beauty industry. I do want to know what experience they've had, and if it has been none, if they can sell me why they should be here, I will listen. I don't really feel like my degree was that valuable. It felt like a little bit of a waste of time and money. Personally, I learnt so much more on the job and in the marketing agency that I first worked at, and I know that my boss didn't hire me on my degree either. But university does one thing, I think, in that it teaches you discipline and in terms of a bit of responsibility. So that's where it can be good. But there's so much that you can learn from other resources or programs. I think nowadays we're really fortunate. But if you like university, if you like that approach to learning, it's like, do it. But also try and work while you're at uni. I had 3 or 4 jobs while I was at uni, and I liked it, and it helped with what I was doing in a way.
Cool. Here's one. If you're encouraging your customers to buy less, how can you sustain the business?
It's a great question. That's what all of my investors say. So our approach to beauty is to wear less makeup. Patagonia actually did an amazing campaign once, which was "Don't buy this jacket." And we look at that often as a point of reference. But for us, Fluff is so much more than just a makeup brand, and we are looking at lots of different ways that we can monetize the business, and that's through our, I guess, the publishing side of the business or our digital content that we release. We have Stuff, which is branded items. We've done a Magic 8 Ball. We're doing, hopefully, stationery. We're going to do some clothing items. It's fewer, I guess, makeup items and then fewer stuff per se, but we won't do runs of 20,000 of a jacket. Like, I think that's wasteful. We're going to keep it small, and we're keeping our prices reasonably high as well, because I want girls to make smart decisions about what they're purchasing and buy things that are of a higher quality, so that they're not just chewing through it, and that it doesn't become disposable for them, that they keep these things. So that's how we kind of are challenging the business model and constantly asking ourselves, like, how do we still make money, but not just by adding tens or hundreds or thousands of SKUs to our product timeline. Yeah.
Out of all the businesses you've started, which is your favourite and why?
I think I have to say Fluff, because this really feels like what I should be doing. I had an incredible conversation with a really successful businessman in New Zealand recently, and I asked him what success looked like, or why he did what he does, like why he's still doing it. And he said, you get to a point where your head, your heart, your soul, and your wallet align. And that to him was success. And it really resonated with me in that right now I feel like my brain is stimulated and challenged. I'm emotionally connected to this brand. It's I'm sorry, it's paying for my wage, and I'm supporting other girls, so it just all feels right at the same time. I think that's good.
Cool. How did your experience from the other companies help with this new venture?
So many ways. Like, I wouldn't be here without the experience at Frank and at Willow. Willow in particular, because we worked for so many different brands across so many different industries, so I just got to see so much. How brands talk to consumers, how consumers engage with brands, how social media works, how it affects people's decision making. So that was really amazing. Frank, I made incredible connections with people all around the world, from manufacturers to people in the industry to press. So that's been great. And I wouldn't be able to get probably the attention that I have had with Fluff without the experience that I've had at Frank. So that's been incredible. And whether it was the cafe that I had or Frank or Willow, just working with people, you can't replace that. It's so incredible, and there's always different personalities, people with different working styles, and you just learn to be empathetic or compassionate and figure out what you want and how other people work and how to work together. So that's nice.
Cool. That's nice. I like that. Now, we've got 3 left. I think it's because we're running out of time. I think it's only fair. I'm going to let you choose whichever one you want to do last, because I'm
Can I just look at them all, or is this a blind?
No, it's...
Oh, I love that. I could rant about that for ages. Okay, I can just really quickly answer them all. Okay, one thing is, what advice would you give to people trying to start a business by bootstrapping? Yeah, so we've obviously raised a whole lot of money, but you still can bootstrap a business, definitely. We did it with Frank. You can do it before. It's about finding people that you can collaborate with and who can help you.
Yep.
And again, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. You can do things at different scales. You don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars. You can spend $1,000. You might not get what you would get spending tens of thousands of dollars, but it's all you can do, and you work your way up and you iterate each time. So that's my quick answer to that. What advice do you have on getting the balance right between structure and creative freedom? I'm always playing with this, like trying different processes to live a life, but then also I need to focus. So I'm sorry. So it's a mix always.
From a marketing perspective, what do you think about influencers?
So I hate influencers, and I say that because I think both brands and influencers have become lazy, but I don't think that influential people aren't a thing, and I really believe in influential people, and it's about finding what an influential person is for your brand, and someone who really cares, that it's not just transactional, that it's not just asking for money, who will probably support you not just because they want that money, because they really care. Like, the money should come after, and that's what you need to focus on. It's a long game, and you have to build relationships with these people, but it's worthwhile in the end. Like, take the time. But conversion rates are not as good as they used to be, so you have to be really careful, really picky.
Cool. Thank you.
That's okay. Sorry for the cough.
That's okay. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. As always, we'll be back next month. Erika, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Hope it helps.
It does. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Yes.
Any questions, please let us know. And we'll be up to episode 8 of Entrepreneur with Ducere. So thank you. Good evening. Have an awesome night wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Bye.